Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Quadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopefully elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Alright, so we're going to get back into Genesis, the 49th chapter. Going into the prophecies about the Israelites, right? Basically an identifying factor of who these people would be in these latter days. And contrary to popular belief, it ain't the people who are said are the Lord's people. It ain't the Israelis, okay? Because they don't fit any of the prophecies of the book, right? Because the world will look over all the prophecies of the book simply because these people say they're the Lord's people, even though their actions show the opposite. Just because they say so, they'll believe it, right? But the scriptures actually give you the prophecies concerning His people, all right, in these latter days, okay? And right here is a key thing to point out. All right, Genesis 49:1, verses 1 and 2, I guess, says, "And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father." Now, we know Jacob is referring to his 12 sons, but his 12 sons overshadow all the nations of people, or all the children that came from those 12 sons, right? So it's basically, in other words, it's foreshadowing, what's being said is foreshadowing all the 12 tribes of Israel, not just his sons, all right? Because his sons didn't exactly experience the things that he's saying here. That's how we know it's prophetic. But what he's saying to his sons is referring to the children that come from under their particular line, all right, down in history, okay? So, because when you go up here back to verse 1, it says here, last days, right? The word days in Hebrew is yawam, okay? And it says what? Day, time, year, right? A period, days, lifetime. You see time, period, in general, okay? Look, today, yesterday, tomorrow, all right? Yawam, okay? And then when you get the word last, all right, the word there is acharyaf, right? Acharyaf. It says after, part, end, issue, event. Most importantly, it says what? Latter time, prophetic for future time. So what he was saying to his 12 sons was referring to all those that came from those 12 sons, which today are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? Scattered across the four corners of the earth. Okay, let's get this off. So yeah, and we're now dealing with, well, actually, there's two here. All right, in this session, Simeon and Levi, right? Which let me get down here, see if I can find their names. Verses, here it is, Simeon. All right, so Simeon and Levi. So Levi, okay, right, Levi, right, being the so-called Haitians today, right? That's the tribe of Levi, okay, and you see right here, Lawya, like you get the word lawyer today, like in the courtroom, in the court system, you get lawyer, all right, similar to that word, or the word lawyer is similar to the name of Levi, all right, Lawya, all right, because they were what? They were the lawgivers, okay? They were the priesthood, right? Those that were the closest to the Lord, and those that were, that would do the temple sacrifices, accept the offerings, the sin offering, peace offering, farewell offering, do everything, the temple, all those different things. Those were the priests, all right? And to the name here, which is joined to, or what it means in anyways, means joined to, all right? So Lawya, all right, Levi means joined to, okay? And this was right here, the third son of Jacob by Leah, and progenitor of the tribe of Levites. All right. And when you go back and get Simeon, these are your so-called Dominicans today. All right. You see the name here. All right. Shemaiwan. All right. Simeon. Shemaiwan. Okay. And which I know the word Shemai means to hear or heard. Let me get it real quick. Shemai. Okay. Yeah, to hear, listen, to obey. Yep, to hear, heard, so on and so forth, right? So yeah, So when you go to the name Shemai 1, all right, means heard, all right. It says the second son of Jacob by his wife Leah and progenitor of the tribe of Simeon. Once again, Simeon being the so-called Dominicans today, all right. Levi being the so-called Haitians, Simeon being the so-called Dominicans, all right. And these are historical facts. Okay, that's why we're going through all these things. Okay, um, I don't think we need anything else from there. So if we go back and actually get into the chapter or these verses here, because there's two sons mentioned here at the same time in this next session here. Lord, will you be edified by it? So Genesis 49 and 5, it says Simeon and Levi are brethren. Okay, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. Okay, so what's this instrument of cruelty? It's referring to when they killed those men. Let me see, where is it? Here it is, 34. And there's some verses that you can probably point out from here, but to really understand the whole account, all right, it's probably best if we read the whole chapter. How long is it? It's 31 verses. But because if you read the whole account, you really get the true understanding. All right, because there's a few scriptures that you might point out, but I mean, why not? I mean, if you're not busy, I'm not busy, so why not? So let's read the chapter. So it'll go into what it says there. All right, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. All right. So it says the treachery of Jacob's sons. It says, and Dinah or Dinah, however you want to pronounce it, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. All right, and we know, there's laws speaking about those things and so on and so forth. That's not the point right now. But she was out by herself. She had no husband, and he took her, and so pretty much in that taking, I mean, well, he was just, being carnal. He wanted her, all right. But in ancient days, when a man would do that, okay, that woman would have to be your wife. So that's why laws were set in place. Laws on dealing with that, but also, will make a man think twice, before he just going and try to, take every woman, that he think is beautiful or got a nice body or whatever the case may be, and make him think twice because you have to keep this woman, take care of her as your own, and you can't divorce her, and so on and so forth. But anyways, it says, and his soul clave unto Dinah, Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. All right, so he was basically, wooing her with words. All right, he saw her, he liked her, he caught her in the way, he took her. All right, against her will, and then he loved her, and so carrying on, it says, and Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle. It says, in the field. And Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with them. Excuse me. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men, so word got down, right? Word spread what Shechem did, all right? Excuse me, what Shechem did to Dinah, right? So it says, and they were very wroth because he had wrought folly in Israel and lying with Jacob's daughter, all right? Because when you go up, let me see here. Well, let's go to Hamor. All right. Hamor, all right? And he has. It says the Hivite prince of the city of Shechem when Jacob entered Palestine, all right? Okay, so and you go into the sun real quick. Shechem, right? Back or shoulder. Son of Hamor, the chieftain of the Hivite at Shechem at the time of Jacob's arrival. So I didn't really tell you too much about these guys. But anyways, it says the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, with which thing ought not to be done. All right, because she was an Israelite child. It says, and Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. They basically saying that my son is in love with your daughter. It says, I pray you, give her him to wife, and make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. Okay, so he was trying to make an agreement, like, hey, we'll give you some of our daughters, and we take some of your daughters, and then we'll be joined together. Which that's often something often talked about. More so when we especially with Esau, like you talk about war. One surefire way to bring peace between two warring kingdoms is to marry into each other's kingdom, because you're not just going to try to bring down a stronghold where your daughter's over there living, or your son is living amongst those people. All right, you join together. So yeah, it'll make you think twice about going to attack that person. So it'll be a peace pact by way of marriage. Okay, so this is basically the same thing he's trying to offer. Like, hey, we can marry into one another, create peace, and we can live and grow together, and so on and so forth, right? So it says, Shechem said unto her father, and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me, I will give. I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. So he basically trying to advocate for his son. He's like, hey, because his son just said, hey, Pops, I like this girl. You got to get it for me. So he was like, hey, whatever the dowry is, all right, whatever we got to pay, because understanding, Israelite customs, right, going into the dowry, we're not going to go into it now, but because that's a whole other topic. But yeah, all right, see, purchase price for a wife, wedding money. Okay, so he's like, hey, whatever amount that you're asking for, I'll pay. And any gifts that you're asking for, I'll give. I just want your daughter so I can give her to my son. Okay, and we can agree also, to trade more women amongst ourselves and bring us closer together, and so on and so forth. So he was trying to seal the deal, so to speak. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. Right? So it says, the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully. It says, and they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. Okay? And we all understand what circumcision is, so we can just keep going. So it says, but in this will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. All right. Now, mind you, it says that the sons of Jacob answered deceitfully, and this is the deceit right here. Okay, because later on it'll be more understandable. But he's saying like, hey, y'all are uncircumcised. You need to get circumcised. Okay, so remember these things. So it says, but if ye will, and then we can deal, right? So it says, but if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. So he really wanted. So he's like, oh hell yeah, I'm about to do this like right now. And he was more honorable than all the house of his father, because he's probably the first one in line to do it, right? It says, and Hamor and Shechem, his son, came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the man consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. All right. So he's really, into righting this wrong, and, getting Dinah, all right, for his son. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. All right. And so it goes to show you that everybody understood how, us Israelites will be blessed. All right. Especially with this time with Jacob. Okay. You know, the Lord was, was with them. All right. And with us in general. Okay. But anyways, it says, and unto Hamor And unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, right? So here's coming to play what was set up above. When it says the sons of Jacob answered deceitfully, and he told him to go get circumcised, then we'll deal. So they basically lied to him. They just wanted them to get circumcised, and this is why. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that the two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, all right. So the so-called Dominicans, the so-called Haitians, okay, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males, okay, everybody, all right, under this city, all right, under Hamor, okay. So that was a very big deal there, okay. So it says, and they slew Hamor and Shechem, all right, both Shechem and his father, which, the target was Shechem anyways, because he's the one that took Dinah when he saw her, all right, and what they would say that they raped her, right? Okay, we'll get over it, all right. So he's the one, he was the main objective. We gotta get him, okay. But then they also slew all the males, okay. And that's crazy work. So it says, and they slew Hamor Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. The sons of Jacob came, and that was I forget the name of the movie, but they showed a movie. It actually had, it's a decent movie, but it actually had that portion in there where they killed all the men. It had all that portion in that movie. I can't remember the name of it. And they showed Esau, and Esau looked like a, I don't know, like a dark brown skinned man, but it looked like they put like some white powder on him. It was a very interesting movie. I forget the name of it though. Most probably saw it. You probably can find it on YouTube, but if you don't know the name, because I can't think of it right now. But yeah, it was a pretty decent movie. Of course, all movies they go off on certain things, but yeah, I remember them showing. They actually showed that portion there. All right, but anyways, um, yeah. So yeah, that was what they did. All right. So Simeon, those so-called Dominicans, all right, and Levi, the so-called Haitians, they killed Shechem, they killed Hamor, and they killed all the males. All right. So that's what it's going into when it says instruments of what it say, cruelty, I believe it says, are in thy habitations. We'll get it when we go back. So it says the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses and that which was in the city and that which was in the field, and all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land. All right, because now because of this, you'll bring enemies upon us. Okay, this thing will surely be heard of. Right, that's what Jacob was thinking. Okay, it says all the inhabitants among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me. It says, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. Yeah, because of what you two boys did, man. All right, you went and killed this man, his son, and all the male children. All right, because of this one account of your sister Dinah, when I already made the deal of what we were going to do to make this thing right. Okay, and you dealt deceitfully. Okay, you told these men to go get circumcised. You waited till they were sore. All right, because I mean, the nigga do when they're sore, they're too hurt to fight, right? Which if speaking on that movie again, I believe in the movie, not saying this is what really happened, but in the movie they show like they came when it was nighttime, they head out, okay, and then waited, till it was nighttime and went in and did that, this, that, and the third thing. No, so it's a pretty decent movie, but as all things that a movie produced, they go off on certain things, all right. Anyways, it says, and they said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot, all right? So that's all they cared about, all right? So-called revenging Dinah, okay? And so looking past the the pretty much the gravity of the situation, all right? Because now, hey, this thing is heard. Hey, there's gonna be a lot of people seeking to take us out, and we're not big numbers to able to defend ourselves in that capacity, okay? So going back from that chapter, so now you understand what it says when it says Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. So that's what it's going into, all right? Them killing all those men, all right, to pretty much revenge Dinah, their sister. Okay, so it says and I don't know what the word cruelty goes into. Hamas, right? Right, Hamas, right? Today, Hamas, right? Violence, wrong, cruelty, injustice, okay? And that was an unjust thing that they did, all right? You told those men to get circumcised and told you that if you get circumcised, we'll deal, okay? We'll come together, and you really just wanted those men to be weakened so that you can put them to death. So it says, verse Genesis 49 and 6, it says, "O my soul, come now thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor. Be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall." All right, so it says, "O my soul, come not thou into that secret." All right, what's that secret? It's talking about their witchcraft and their voodoo. All right, that they do. Okay, um, which is also against the laws when you go into that. Deuteronomy 18 and 10. "There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire." Now, in particular, this is referring to, rituals that have to do with false gods, right? Because some of those false gods will have you to sacrifice your children or to do some kind of sex ritual, or it'll be something, right, that you would have to do. So, but, still in general, as we read, it says, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. All right, we can actually go. I mean, we don't really need to. All right, Psalm is the word there. Divination, witchcraft. All right. It also says of false prophets, because we just talked about one of those guys the other day in the book of Acts, the account when Paul was on. I forget who he was with. Paul, when whatever companion he was with. On the island, and you had this one guy who was bewitching the people of the island, the king of the island, so on and so forth. And then Paul, pretty much not struck him down like a fight or a sword or something, with the spirit. All right, and he actually wanted, to be able to do what Paul of them could do and stuff. But you get the point where I'm going there with false prophets, because he was a false prophet. That's the point I was making there, because he was using witchcraft. It was sorcery. Okay, it wasn't the Holy Spirit that was making this man do what he do what he was doing. All right. Paul and his companions had the Holy Spirit. Okay. Um, it says observer of times. Anon or Anon says to make appear, produce, bring cloud. Here you go. To practice soothsaying or conjure. Right. You had Saul that he put the witches out of the land, and he went to a witch. Him of all people went to a witch to conjure up Samuel to ask him what to do about the Philistines. Samuel's like, "Hey, if the Lord ain't dealing with you, what you think I'm going to tell you? You and your son's going to be with me." And where was he at? Okay, he was back in the spiritual realm. Okay, which is another key. Well, not key, but a small thing you can point out dealing with uh, like the hell topic and stuff like that, as well as reincarnation. Both those topics can actually use that same point, because all go into one place, which is back into the spiritual realm, showing you there's no hell, and it also goes into the topic of reincarnation. All right, but anyways, yeah, conjure, which that was necromancy, what the witch did. All right, which because you conjuring up the dead, okay, or conjuring up familiar spirits, whatever the case may be, right, demons. So it says to observe times, which you see a lot when people are using the stars and stuff like that to try to predict future events and things of that nature, right? To observe times, practices, saying, or spiritism, or magic, or augury, or witchcraft, soothsayer, enchanter, sorceress, diviner, fortune teller, barbarian, neonym. I don't even know what that is. Okay, I guess same thing. Soothsayer, regardless of times, etc., means sorcerers and is derived either from Iwana or time. Okay, so it's pretty much the same thing there. So all these words pretty much go into the same thing. Enchanter, all right. Nachash, that word comes up in the book of Genesis dealing with the serpent. All right, showing you that the serpent was a man. All right, and not an actual snake like the churches tell you. Same thing. Practice divination, fortune telling. All right, learn by experience, diligently observe signs, take as an omen, all these different things. These things are left-handed things, okay? And which is more straightforward than anything, huh? So, or there's kashap, to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft, sorcerer, sorceress. Okay? Or it says, there shall not be found any among you, anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, as we just talked about, right? A necromancer, there's right there, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Okay, so all these things are going off, and uh, uh, the so-called Haitians and the so-called Dominicans are heavy in those things, right? Simeon and Levi, okay, they're heavy in those things, okay. Um, what Rick up says, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord Yahweh. Okay, so it says, and because of these abominations, Yahweh thy power do drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh thy power, especially when you're dealing with Levi, because once again, these were the people that the Lord chose, all right, to operate under the priesthood and so on and so forth, like that. All right, so it says, for these nations which thou shalt possess, hearken unto observer of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, Yahweh thy power had not suffered thee to do so. You see, the Lord has never told us to go deal with witchcraft and sorcery and magic, and like these people talk about what the daggone thing called with the astrology thing, uh the zodiacs and stuff like that. What's your sign and stuff like that. The Lord never told you to ask somebody, oh, you a Cancer, all right, you a Leo, you a Virgo. You ain't supposed to be dealing with those things, all right? Because that's similar to trying to fortune tell, or in some, on a smaller sense, to foresee future events. And I think I'm about to get rained out here. Sprinkling. Um, I'll keep going and see how heavy it picks up. So I'm gonna have to pack up. So going back, so it says, "Oh my soul, come now down into their secret." So that secret is talking about their witchcraft and their voodoo that they do. Okay, it says, "Unto their assembly," which is going into their those. Cause some come go like they show you this in movies and stuff like Chucky. They show you that in Chucky, where the guy was looking for, or was it a girl? I can't remember. It's been so long, because those movies came out when I was little. But when the guy went to see the girl and the cop, I think they went to see the voodoo doctor. Or actually, there was a scene there where Chucky actually went to the voodoo doctor, but it was to kill him, because the voodoo doctor showed him how to transfer his body into the doll. All that wicked and stuff, right? But it shows you, they deal with all these, certain dealings, dealing with chicken bones and all this kind of stuff, and it's almost like casting lots. All right. Okay, starting to pick up heavy. Let me pause right here. Yeah, because I'm gonna get rained out. My Bible's, everything's gonna get wet. Okay, so just bear with me, y'all. Okay, all right. The sun kind of came back out. I don't know. It stay like that. So we just gonna keep going. I didn't mean to close out that my screen blacked out on me, so it closed out automatically. But we just, let's keep going. So we were reading Genesis 49 and 6. So it says, "Oh my soul, come now down to their secret," dealing with their voodoo, their witchcraft, and that they do. It says unto their assembly, all right, which are their, the different. We talk about different meetings that they have. A lot of these things are done in public. You see them using the sacrifice, and like using a chicken and so on and so forth. And they said this to the spirits because they're asking for daggone, like, I don't know, they're asking for some receiving the so-called prophecies and stuff like that, or for protection and etc. All these different things. All right, so they'll sacrifice, these, using these chickens and stuff like that. And they do these things in the open. But then sometimes, you have people who go to like a voodoo priest or priestess, secretly. All right, and commune with them and ask them for certain things. All right, same way, openly or secretly. Because sometimes things are done in the open, sometimes things are done secretly. But that's what it's dealing with. All right. So it says unto their assembly, and there's those different meetings with those voodoo priests and priestesses, or sometimes like that, and they say they're doing these things, to the so-called spirits, but it really, they're dealing with the left hand side, right? They're dealing with demons, right? That's what they're doing. And, sacrificing chickens and stuff like that. All right, they're doing that to the left hand. All right. I actually want to get. Let's see here. Joshua 24. Joshua 24 and right here 17. It says, "For the Lord Yahweh, our power, he it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight and preserved us in all the way." So clearly, we're talking about the Israelites, right? So it says, "Wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And the Lord Yahweh drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwelt in the land. Therefore will we also serve Yahweh, for he is our power. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye cannot serve Yahweh, for he is a holy power. He is a jealous power. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins. If you forsake Yahweh and serve strange gods," all right? That's what, our people are, the main thing that our people are caught up into, all right? False gods and idols, right? To this very day. Right? If you forsake Yahweh and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he had done you good. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve Yahweh. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves. All right. Now remember, this is all said because this is recorded in the scriptures. I believe there's a similar thing that was said. I think it was Yahushua that said it. All right. It was either Yahushua or John the Baptist, but he spoke somewhere in the lines, one of them, about uh, Moses and the law testified against you. So I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but anyways, but these are words, all right, that because there's a lot of things that are said that we said in the ancient days, and then Israel transgressed. So it says, "Ye are witnesses against yourselves, that ye have chosen you Yahweh to serve him." And they said, "We are witnesses," right? Similar to well, actually not similar, but also speaking on Deuteronomy chapter 4, where it tells us not to worship the angels and things of that nature, right? Or these false gods and stuff like that, because they were given to these heathens to do. Okay, not to us. It says, "Now therefore put away," said he, "the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto Yahweh, power of Israel." And the people said unto Joshua, "Yahweh, our power, will we serve, and his voice will we obey." All right, this is what everybody agreed on. Okay, it's one of those key things showing you that in all agreement. So when you go talking about the things done unto us, all right, the Lord is justified by doing those things because he always gives the warning. But dealing more directly, let's go to Hosea, chapter 4. Most High's controversy with Israel. All right, now this is more so dealing with the northern kingdom of Israel. They were known as Israel, Yasharallah, right? They had the capital in Samaria. Okay, the southern kingdom of Judah, all right, was you get what I'm trying to, the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, all right. Matter of fact, I might want to read. How long is this? That's short too. Matter of fact, let's read it in NLT. I want to see what the NLT reads, because the NLT will really be hidden sometimes. So let's just start at verse 1. So it says, "The Lord's case against Israel." All right. So it says, and actually, I saw it because it said, dealing with the northern kingdom, because in the book of Hosea, all right, there's a lot dealing with the northern kingdom. But let's just read to make the point about what we're reading here. So it says, "Hear the word of the Lord Yahweh, O people of Israel. Yahweh has brought charges against you, saying, There is no faithfulness, no kindness, no knowledge of the Most High in your land. You make vows and break them. You kill and steal and commit adultery. There is violence everywhere, one murder after another." And remember when the kingdom was split, all right, you had Solomon's servant take over the northern. He was an Ephraimite, so-called Puerto Rican, all right. And he set up the two golden calves, one in Bethel and one in Dan. Okay, and so they started following that, which that was the same thing that was set up after Egypt, right? When they took all the gold rings and so on and so forth. Okay, Moses made the golden calf. So you could tell The Israelites were still secretly stuck to them. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of them were still secretly stuck to that. Okay, and I think it was Jeroboam, the servant. He brought that back full swing. Okay, when he became king of the northern kingdom. But anyways, it says that is why your land is in mourning, and everyone is wasting away. Even the wild animals, the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea are disappearing. Don't point your finger at someone else and try to pass the blame. My complaint, you priests, is with you. Who are the priests? I'm talking about the Levites, all right? You priests is with you. So you will stumble in broad daylight, and your false prophets will fall with you in the night. And I will destroy Israel, your mother, okay? These are warning shots right here. It says, my people are being destroyed because they don't know me, all right? If I'm correct, I believe that's the same scripture that says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But it says, my people are being destroyed because they don't know me. Since you priests refuse to know me, I refuse to recognize you as my priest. Since you have forgotten the laws of your power, I will forget to bless your children. The more priests there are, the more they sin against me. They have exchanged the glory of the Most High for the shame of idols. And if you were to go over there today, all right, and try to tell those people, who they are, and you're supposed to be the priest or whatever the case may be, and they'll probably try to put a curse on you, all right, call a voodoo man on you, okay. But anyways, it says when the people bring their sin offerings, the priests get fed. So the priests are glad when the people sin, okay, which is just that's wicked within itself. When the people bring their sin offerings, the priests, because remember the priests didn't have they weren't given, everything like the other tribes were like their own land. They lived like in, the suburban life, right? They weren't given a whole entire plot of land area for the particular tribe to Levi to live in. Because you needed a priest, because a lot of them, lived amongst Judah, but then all of the tribes also needed priests. So you had the Levites that were scattered amongst all the tribes. All right. All the tribes had Levites amongst them living in suburbs because everybody needs that priest to operate, because those were the certain ones that had that could only do certain things that the other tribes couldn't do. So you have the priests everywhere, all right? And it says when the people bring their sins, and because you can go back like reading because we went through Exodus, so somewhere in there we went across the priests and stuff like that. All right, so that's how they would get fed, okay, and stuff like that, and get they get certain things from the things that were coming into the temple. All right, the Lord would get his cut, and then afterward the Levites would get their cut from that, okay, because the other tribes are supporting them, okay. So it says, and what the priests do, the people also do. So now I will, and what we just talked about, the voodoo priests and priestess, right? So these people are swinging chickens around and scattering blood and all this craziness, playing with chicken bones and all this kind of stuff, all right? And the people are following, okay? So it says, so now I will punish both priests and people for their wicked deeds. They will eat and still be hungry. They will play the prostitute and gain nothing from it, for they have deserted the Lord. To worship other gods, wine has robbed my people of their understanding, okay? And it ain't talk about being drunk, okay? Well, sometimes wine can be talking about being drunk, but then there's times where wine is talking about, other philosophies and beliefs that are not of the Lord or settled within the scriptures, right? It says they ask a piece of wood for advice, okay? And there's several scriptures that we always grab, dealing with that, but we're not going to get into it because that's not the point of this particular lesson. It says they ask a piece of wood for advice. They think a stick can tell them the future. Longing after idols has made them foolish. They have played the prostitute, serving other gods and deserting their power. They offer sacrifices to idols on the mountaintops. They go up into the hills to burn incense in the pleasant shade of oaks, poplars, and terebinth trees. That is why your daughters turn to prostitution and your daughters-in-law commit adultery. But why should I punish them for their prostitution and adultery? For your men are doing the same thing, sinning with whores and shrine prostitutes. Oh, which that hey, way back in you had who was that at the time of Samuel, I forget his name, but the guy's two sons who were doing that, sleeping with the temple, the girls at the temple or whatever like that, pretty much stealing. I was gonna say stealing, but you can say stealing. The different meat, sacrifices before they was cooked and done. They just gonna take their portion and just forget about the Lord's cut. They're gonna take their portion first, all right, and we're threatening the man if he wouldn't give it to them. All this craziness, right? And they got judged. Okay, So it says, for your men, but that's the other top. It says, for your men are doing the same thing, sinning with whores and shrine prostitutes. O foolish people, you refuse to understand, so you will be destroyed. All right. So, and then we can stop right there. I just want to read that, because it mentions, those Levites down in there. Okay. Yeah, that was it. For my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. But thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And once again, look at what they do today, okay? Look at how they operate, okay? So they're still doing, priesthood things, but it's just a left-handed priesthood, all right? They're doing witchcraft and stuff like that, voodoo, right? The hoodoo that you do, okay? They're doing things like that today. But before, all right, in the ancient days, they did it righteously on the right-hand side, right? Like the Lord set it up to be. So you can see those are the same people, man, all right? In particular, though, we're talking about the Levites. So if we go back to Genesis 49 and was it 6? So it says, unto their assembly, right? So, oh my soul, come now thou into their secret. That's that, the witchcraft and stuff like that they do, voodoo. It says unto their assembly, all right? These different meetings where they go see the voodoo priest or priestess. Sometimes they have open rituals where everybody's there and, all that craziness, all right? It says, mine honor, be not thou united, okay? And this is crazy because, well, what, I'm going to get something else here because before we move on, I almost want to get this because we read those other scriptures there. Not to leave this out, though. Let's go to Malachi 2, verse 1. It says, priest to be disciplined. It says, and now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if ye will not lay it to the heart, to give glory unto my name, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. You see? Yeah, I have cursed them already, because ye do not lay it to heart. In other words, they're not mindful, okay? It says, behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feast, and one shall take you away with it, which was brought out, during that, what was it, a hurricane, or it was something I can't remember. But anyways, these people were actually eating, little dung cakes or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what to call it, all right? But yeah, so these scriptures are alive and true, okay? It says, and ye shall know that I have sent this commandment, I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, you see? And remember, Levi, Lawya, right, means join to me. I think it says join to me or join unto me, okay? Or join to, if I'm correct. All right, join to who? The Lord, man. By being that priesthood, okay? It says, my covenant might be with Levi, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. My covenant was with him of life and peace. And I gave to him for the fear wherewith he feared me and was afraid before my name. The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity, because I just mentioned, right, before they were doing things on the right-hand side, now they're doing things, on the left. I dropped something. Now they're doing these things, okay, on the left, all right? So it says, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. But ye are departed out of the way. Ye have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base. As you see, before all the people, look at what they're doing now. Okay, you go over there and this so-called Hispaniola island, which I believe that was given by the conquistadors, the name. All right. But when you go over there and look at Simeon and Levi now, and you see exactly what they're doing. All right, they're voodoo and stuff. Okay. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as ye, and it's not they're not, super rich or well off either. This is according as ye have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. Okay, so the Lord was hitting all the points, man. Let me get one more real quick though. Deuteronomy 33. So it says, and of Levi, he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with the Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Massah, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah, who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him, neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor do his own children, for they have observed thy word and kept thy covenant. They shall teach Jacob thy judgments, and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and hold burnt sacrifice upon thine altar. Bless Yahweh his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. All right. So this is just another quick scripture I want to read. Okay. But let's get back on point here. Let's get back into Genesis 49. Let me go back over here. So yeah, Genesis 49 and here it is 6. So it says, my honor, be not thou united. Okay, because once again, I'm sorry, because well, yeah, we're moving on because everything we talked about was from that last point where it says into their secret. It says unto their assembly. That is, then talk about those secret councils and things. How they went off, all right? Because they were the priesthood, and now they're doing the left-handed priesthood, all right, doing magic and stuff like that, and all those things. So it says, mine honor, be not thou united. So they live on the same island, but yet they don't get along with one another. Talking about the so-called Dominicans and the so-called Haitians, they don't get along with, which is another interesting thing. Um, I don't know if it's still the same, but you have with the Haitians who live on the western 1/3 part of the island, and then the Dominicans live on the eastern 2/3 part of the island. I just thought that was very interesting. All right, not really important, but I just thought it was interesting. Um, and also and separating them is a river. What is it called? The Massacre River, which it wasn't named because of them. If I'm correct, there was an earlier event dealing with those, once again, the Edomites, right? The conquistadors, the Spaniards. There was an event that happened with them, and it was named after that event. But, nonetheless, that Massacre River still kind of separates them, okay? So it's not called Massacre River because of them. It was actually an earlier event, all right, if I'm correct. But yeah, the so-called island of Hispaniola, which supposedly the Taino were the first to actually inhabit that island, supposedly. All right, with those go back to also the so-called Ephraimites. The so-called Puerto Ricans, the Ephraimites. All right, if I'm correct. But and I think they call like the Dominican Republic side, like I forget how you word it, Quizqueya, something like that, Quizqueya. And the other part, with which is the western part, Haiti, which supposedly is where you get the name Haiti from. I'm not sure how true that is. Haiti, I think it's like Ayiti. All right, Haiti. All right, I don't know. It's supposedly, all right, is where you get the word Haiti from. But but anyways, it says yeah. So though they live on the same island, you got the Haitians on the left, on the west, and then you got Dominicans on the right, on the east. Okay, they're separated from one another. They don't get along with one another. Okay, and that's what the scriptures say. All right, so it says be not thou united. It says, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall. And that's going back to what we talked about before. All right, the whole chapter that we went into, when it talked about instruments of cruelty. All right, in their habitation. That's going to the same thing there. Okay. Genesis 49:7 says, cursed be their anger, for it was fierce. So same thing. It says, and their wrath, because they did it, subtly. All right, they said that, hey, you know what, we can come with agreement if you do this, all right, get circumcised, all right, and they use that against them. They basically lied to them, set them up to weaken them so they can kill them, and that's what happened. It says, cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. And that's very important, because even especially dealing with as we just talked about with Levi, okay, you had the Levites that lived in the suburbs, right, the different suburban areas, okay, But they also lived amongst all the tribes because every tribe needed a priest because the priests were they did the priesthood, all right? So all the tribes needed Levites in their habitations, right? So yeah, it says, I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. And actually, if you look at, the ancient days, like, on the map, you're right, you'll see where Levi pretty much lived, and I mean, matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's go over here. Deuteronomy chapter 10. Verse 8, it says, At that time, Yahweh separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, to stand before Yahweh, to minister unto him, and to bless his name unto this day. Wherefore, Levi had no part nor inheritance, meaning what? The land itself, right? It says, with his brethren, Yahweh is his inheritance, according as Yahweh thy power promised him, okay? So keep that in mind, and let's move over here to, you want to cause a little chain reaction here, all right? So it all makes sense. Joshua chapter 18, verse 6, it says, Ye shall therefore describe the land into 7 parts, and bring the description hither to me, that I may cast lots for you here before Yahweh our power. But the Levites have no part among you, for the priesthood of Yahweh is their inheritance, all right? So it's telling you the same thing, making it even just that much more clear, all right? The Lord is the direct provider. He's the provider, obviously, of all the tribes, but a direct provider for the Israelites. I mean, for the Levites, which is why they got what they had from the other tribes. So the other tribes pretty much took care of them, and they just lived, cushy life in the suburbs, all right, of all the lands of the tribes, right? So it says, and Gad, it says, for the priesthood of Yahweh is their inheritance. And Gad and Reuben and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond Jordan on the east, which Moses, the servant of Yahweh, gave them. According to, these particular chapters, give and take around this area, going to all the lands that was parted to all the different tribes is, is what we're just reading that portion there. That's all we wanted there. So let's jump over actually here. We're going to stay in Joshua. Let's get Joshua 13. Just one scripture here. Joshua 13 and 33 says, But unto the tribe of Levi, Moses gave not any inheritance. Yahweh, power of Israel, was their inheritance, as he said unto them. Okay? So it's making the same point over and over and over. All right? So let's go to Joshua 21. Okay? And 41. It says, All the cities of the Levites within the possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities with their suburbs. It says, These cities were everyone with their suburbs round about them. Thus were all these cities. It says, well, actually, that's it. That's because it's straightforward there. The Levites lived in the suburbs amongst all the tribes. They were spread out because they were the Levitical priesthood. Okay. And of course, every person wasn't in the, doing the service or whatever. It was only certain men, but, the tribe of Levi is where you would find the priest from out of that particular tribe. All right. So, the Levites are still the Levites, one and the same. All the cities of the Levites within the possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities. So 48 pretty much suburbs, right? So it says these cities were everyone with their suburbs round about them. Thus were all these cities. And that's where the Levites lived amongst everybody. Okay. Let's get one more. Numbers 35. All right. And 1. Cities for the Levites. So it says, And Yahweh spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And ye shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have to dwell in. And the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And ye shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the cities of the this shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. Right? And it says, And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither, and to them ye shall add 42 cities. So all the cities which ye shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities. So 48 cities. them shall ye give with their suburbs, right? And the cities which ye shall give shall be of the possession of the children of Israel. From them that have many, ye shall give many, but from them that have few, ye shall give few. So the bigger the land of whatever tribe, all right, if you had a bigger land, you have more to give, all right? So if you had a smaller land, you can't give the Levites but so much territory because you'd end up taking up all your territory. So that's basically, straightforward and simple there. It says, them that have few, ye shall give few. Everyone shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance, which he inherited. You see? So yeah, and of course we still got Levites today who live all over different cities. Now, of course, it's not the same as the ancient times, but I'm just saying that, you got them all over, right? So, that's pretty much it on that, all right? Because, going on from there, it goes into something else. We're not going to get into. We're going to do that in another session because we're going to do these one by one, all right? It just so happens in this particular one, it's talking about Simeon and Levi. So it's talking about both the Haitians and the so-called Dominican Republic, okay? Dominicans, all right? So that's why we're talking about two of the sons at the same time because they're just so happen to be mentioned together, right? But I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, because the next verse goes into So yeah, so I mean that's it for the once again the tribe of Simeon, okay, being the so-called Dominicans, and the tribe of Levi being the so-called Haitians. All right, so you can really see the big similarities for the things in the scriptures to those people today. All right, and pointing those people out today. So I mean that's pretty much it. So Lord willing, you were edified to this, and that's what I'm going to say. Shalom.